Hi, this is Rhett, President of Notice Human Capital. I'd like to take just a few minutes to walk through our program information guide with you. At Notice, we feel strongly about not just helping our clients find the next job, but to help future-proof their career. If you look around nowadays, there's a lot of turmoil going on in the business world. And finding a job is obviously stage one of what needs to happen, but also keeping the job and understanding what it takes to really build in kind of an insurance policy for your career. But we'll get into that a little more later. Let's just come on down here, look at the opening page. We've been in business for over 20 years. We're very proud of that. And we're the highest recommended career coaching company in the world. So if you just went to my profile, for example, and came down, get to where recommendations are, and look at those recommendations, click show more, and just continue to show more if you want it. So that's something that I think is good for you to be able to take a look at to get a sense of what other clients have thought. What's one of the things that we do that's really different is act as both an agent and a coach. When we work together, we're not just going and finding you a job and you're waiting around for us to give you a call and you just show up for the interview. You're still very much an active participant with us in the search. It's also not something where we're just coaching you and it's really all up to you to go do it. It's the perfect blend of excellent coaching and kind of a project manager managing the search, the coaching that goes along with that. The best of all of those worlds is what we present. One of the things that's unique, and I'd just like to go over a few things in orange here that kind of sets us apart, or that has kind of shown our forward-thinking mentality when it comes to helping our clients separate themselves from other job seekers, especially in this very competitive marketplace. One of the things that we do that's a little bit different, and we started this way back in the beginning, was putting quotes on a resume. So for example, here's a resume of a client. So you can see here, we put in a third-party quote. And that really gets people's attention. And so one of the other things that we like to do is to bring out a selected career highlights section. So not just what you do, but how well you do what you do. You can kind of see our layout here if you want to compare this to what your resume might look like. Very nice layout, this third-party validation, and nicely spaced, good use of white space, good verbiage, not redundant. That's the kind of thing that we would do with the resume. One of the other tricks that we have is the ability to embed hidden words in the resume. So as you know, everything's keyword search nowadays, it seems like. And so there's a way to identify what the most important words are in the job description that you're looking at, and to go in and build a set of words that act as kind of a wall. But the computer program will see those words and then tell the HR screener to look at it. But the human being that's actually looking at it won't know that those words were in there. So that's another kind of trick we use. So one of the other things that we've created is something we call the P2P, or the point to point. Take a look at this. So what you see here is the title of a job, and then what they're looking for is a requirement on the left, experience, education, and so forth. And on the right, you have laid out how you match up with the job. When you think of HR people, they want to really get to kind of cut to the chase. And so this is something that an HR person said, it's everything I never knew I always wanted. So what that means is it allows me to not have to actually go look at all the details of the resume to know that someone can make it through the first round of screening. This is a great document to get through that first round because it shows visually that you match up. Now, interestingly, if you were not a very good fit for a position, you would never do a point-to-point like this because it would only actually show how bad of a fit you are. Okay, so that's a point-to-point. So again, as you come down and look at the different parts in orange, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the just-in-time marketing campaign later. So let's just set the backdrop of what your understanding as a job seeker should be as you try to make sense of it. So I think most people are aware that there's a large number of jobs that are never actually publicly posted. Companies are able to fill the position or let's just say they start looking internally, and then a friend of somebody internally, and then maybe somebody in the industry. So say Nike goes and steals a designer from Adidas because they're a known commodity. The reason that they do this is because it reduces their risk. So companies will go through almost anything to get a warm referral. If they have to then publicly post it, they will. And then if they have to, on the farthest end, go to a recruiter, that costs the most money to them. So most companies are going to wait until they've gone through all of those kind of screening processes first before they kind of throw in the towel and do that. Now, obviously, some companies post every job, but that doesn't mean they're actually open, right? Because they might already know who they're going to hire, but they just post it because they have to, technically, because of legal things or company policy. There's a lot of different reasons that companies will post certain jobs, but they're actually not available. There's a large chunk of jobs that kind of fly under the radar. You never see them. So what you see reflected online is only a very small portion of that pie that's actually available. So part of what I want you thinking about is, how do I get in front of those? And you're probably already thinking that I've got to try and do something different than just answering publicly posted advertisements. This is how things kind of start, right? A company recognizes the problem or opportunity that they have. They've got to create the job. They look internally, like you're saying, go all the way out to where they end up hiring. The thing that's really unique about what we do, and part of the value that you get, is what we call our Notice Network. The Notice Network is 20 years worth of clients who have agreed to help other clients as others help them. So in a sense, once a client, always a client. And we offer our support and connection in the same way because we want access to you as well. A direct connect is something that we do that is where you and I agree that Notice should be the one to reach out on the opportunity. So let's say we see this opportunity and we see that Notice knows somebody. That's kind of obvious that Notice should be the one to reach out. But there will be different times where we don't actually know anyone at the company, and maybe you don't either, but you still want Notice to do a reach out. Okay, remember, this is called a direct connect. It's something very unique to what we do. We might call, okay, let's say it's a cold call. Call up and talk to Susan, the VP of HR, and talk you up to her. And then say, talk us up to her. And she might say, well, Rhett, we don't really want to pay a recruiter. And we're not a recruiter. Once they understand that we're willing to refer you to them and they don't have to pay anything, they actually love that. Actually, here's an example. I just saw an email and I want to show you this. So as you can see down here at the bottom, Austin did a reach out, a direct connect, and he got in touch with the HR person over at this company. She loved the referral and wants me to send her a direct email with our client's information. So this is what he's going to do. So this is a direct reach out by us that he got in touch with the decision maker, and now here he is sending this email off to her with Gary's information, and now we at least get eyes on resume. So even in a cold call situation, doing a direct connect like that, many times we'll get that kind of result. Obviously, when we know somebody, we're going to use that relational leverage with a past client to see if they can refer you in as an internal employee. One of the other really cool things about the Notice Network is, say we have an interview at a particular company that we have a client at, we can reach out to that client and find out from them what kind of interview prep we should do before we go into that interview, because they know exactly how their company interviews. And so kind of getting almost like a cheat sheet before we go in is super helpful. Also, one of the areas that past clients help us is with internal job postings. When HR sends out an email to everybody and says, hey, remember Chuck's last job is Friday and we're looking for a new controller. If any of you know anyone, refer them in. Remember, we give you $1,000 spiff if we end up hiring the person you refer. Anytime a company asks the employees for referrals like that, we ask our past clients to send us those emails so that we can let our network know and potentially refer them people. And again, these are not jobs that are posted yet. It's just an internal thing. So the Notice Network is huge, and we ask you to be part of that when you become a client. And if someone isn't kind of interested in participating in that way and to be willing to help other people long term, then you're not a candidate that we really want to work with long term. We could maybe write a resume for you, help with LinkedIn, maybe a little coaching, but in terms of locking into the long-term relationship that I'm describing, that's an important part and what we look for. It's something that makes us really unique. A direct connect is where we reach out, and remember the direct connect because the price differences between the different service levels. One of the big differences is how many of those direct connects you want, where Notice is the one going to try to do that reach out. One of the things that's also unique with this network is that we have a lot of recruiter contacts and friends that we've met while making direct connect calls. When we work together and we figure out, okay, what's your geographical target area that you want? What's the industry kind of job you're looking for in that? Once we have that targeting down, we'll look and see who we know that we can refer your resume over to, and that recruiter knows us, and so they'll put your resume in the stack of who they're going to look at first before they'll just go, say, to LinkedIn. And so we're very proud of this network of over 9,000 people that we can commoditize and use for value and coming from all kinds of different directions. One of the main questions that someone usually wants to know right away is, what's our success rate? So you can see here that 50% of our clients are in their next position within 2.5 to 3 months. And basically 9 out of 10 or 91% by 5 to 5.5 months. That's really fast by almost any measurement. The Wall Street Journal says that in their study, you basically use a metric of 1 month of job search time for every $10,000 that someone makes. So if you make, let's say, 150, they would say on average it's going to take 15 months. No, most people that we talk to would say there's no way it can take me 15 months. And it may not, but it is an average. And so if you're able to do it in 5 months, that means it took somebody else, let's say, 25 months. So we're very proud of how the direct engagement with us, the network, the both of us reaching out, doing the search together, the tools and all the other things that we'll be talking about, how that is going to dramatically shorten the time that it takes for you to find your next job. And so when you think about what the return on investment is, for most clients, they have to just think, if we could help them get a job just a couple of weeks faster than they could on their own, they would have more than paid for the program. So one of the other things that people might ask is there something that distinguishes why someone might get a job in 2 months versus 8 months? The biggest things that we'll want to talk about when we meet is how much time you can put into the search with us, what your geographical target area is it wide open, or does it have to be, say, just in Chicago? And how married you are to certain job titles. Does it have to remain at a C level or VP level, or are you very flexible? Flexible on bonuses, travel, title, things like that. So we can help just about anybody, even if they have very, let's say, stringent, they have very little time to put in, they have a very small geographical target area, and they're married to a specific kind of title. That's fine, but just realize that type of thing will take longer. So one of the things that's really important, and an area that I think most people think that they're pretty good on, is interviewing. Someone at your level is going to have pretty good interviewing and people skills, but what you have to understand is that it's extremely competitive out there, and so good may not be good enough. Part of the video Rorschach that you took, where you watched the older gentleman going on the motorcycle trip, what was that for? Part of it is to kind of determine your level of EQ. How self-aware are you? How do other people view you? What's your brand like? We will get into all of that. And so it's not just a matter of being able to answer the question about what's your greatest strength well. It's being able to actually emulate the traits that you're talking about so that you're believable. And being aware of certain things that you might have, certain bugs in your operating system that other people see quite readily, but that you might be somewhat blind to. And we're all blind, actually, to our bugs. And so the person that's able to identify what those bugs are and then come up with a hack or a way of keeping that in check is the person that usually wins. By the way, feel free to bring up the PDF that's attached and click and watch the videos that are embedded in this as you go through. When we help with negotiation, we usually are able to help the client get between 3 and 10% more than what the initial offer is. And so here's actually an example. Just saw this text message come in, and this is a client a little bit on the lower end, but this is just from today. So great news, got a verbal offer, and they ended up matching my old salary. So they originally offered 85,000, and now she got it to 110. At that level, a $15,000 bump would be a lot. This is even more than that. Just at that level, imagine having that extra amount year after year after year, how much more that's going to mean to your 401k and compounding interest and so forth, if you're able to get as much as possible and not leave any money on the table, but also understand how to negotiate where you're not going to basically be taken out of the running because you're trying to push it too much and there's someone else that's willing to take less money than you. That's a very common thing. Okay, so I want you to kind of think about if we lived in a world where, like Facebook or like YouTube, where people give a thumbs down or they like a video and it kind of tracks the feedback, right? Or if you're on Yelp and you go in and you write up about a hotel that you just stayed at, okay? The feedback, the rating, 5 stars and so forth. So this is kind of setting up a imaginary world where someone's rating you in every interaction that you have, okay? And you can kind of see here, let's say 5 is kind of perfect. And so this person is a 4.2. Okay, so watch this video because it's very poignant. And so here's these different individuals. Okay, Ryan's a 3.7, Tamara's a 4.8. In every interaction that you have, in interviewing, when you're networking with people, all of those things, when you go to work, you have to be aware that this is actually going on. People are judging you. There may not be an app or a software program where you literally go in after you talk to each person and rate them. But what if that was a thing? Like, what if that was actually a thing, right? And someone could go look at your rating online, just like we do with any product before we buy it, we want to research it. What would people see, right? What would the feedback be as if they were reading something about a hotel room, right? Where they talk about the lumpy bed or the surface was bad or the bathroom was dirty and all that. You know, she shows up late all the time, not credible, they don't keep their word. If everybody had to go in and put down what their feedback is in their experience with us, what would that look like? So we want to get you thinking about this because it ties into how well you do in an interview. And so that's really what this page is about. We have a really unique process that I can't go into because it's kind of a secret, but it's a way of helping a client see themselves as other people see them so that they can make the adjustments necessary to true up themselves to the way that they need other people to see them in order to be effective. And so we have a process, I like to call it kind of a secret shopper program, where you will be able to get feedback on how you're actually coming across in a way that you've never had before, and it's very exciting. We have an ongoing program for clients that we call the EQ crew. Back in the day, Benjamin Franklin created what they call the Junto group, and he brought a group of people together and they would meet weekly and exchange value. Someone would teach kind of a lesson, give information. One person was a lawyer, one person was a farmer, and so they would all learn from one another. And so this is kind of an electronic version of that group that we put together. It's a private group, and only certain level of clients have access to it, but it's an ongoing way to sharpen your saw, as Stephen Covey would say, and a way to be able to access people and get advice and information in a very meaningful way from other like-minded people who want to continue to work on their emotional intelligence so that, again, they can have a stronger long-term career that has fewer moments in it that could take you out, where you say the wrong thing, people misunderstand what you mean by something. There's very little tolerance today for mistakes that we all might make. And so you have to be in a position where every day, when you go into an interview, when you meet with people, when you go to work, you're seeing yourself as if you're kind of hovering outside of your body, looking at yourself and seeing yourself as others do and stopping yourself from saying things that you shouldn't or taking actions that can be deleterious to your long-term career. And so this is a really unique group, and clients absolutely love this. This page just kind of goes into a little more about what makes us different as a summary and our record with the Better Business Bureau. We've been in business, as I said, over 20 years. We have an A+ rating with 0 complaints. We take care of our clients, and if we ever have an issue with someone, we'll make it right. And that's why we have the reputation that we do. No one does more for the client than we do. No one participates more. The direct connects and reaching out has the warm network of people. And so the actual personalized attention to your situation and the breadth of contacts and the tools to help get in front of people and open the doors is genuinely what makes us different, better. So feel free to click again on these videos and any links here. It's kind of meant to be an engaging document for you to be able to go get more information if you like. Okay, so check this out. This is something that I mentioned on the first page that I talk about a little later. We call it just-in-time marketing. So one of the first things we would do in working together is you'd fill out what we call a target summary sheet, and it will define what cities or states you're looking at, what are the industries that you and I together would decide that, like, you're a brand and they're a buyer, right? So who do we think are the best buyers for your brand? We have the ability to get the email address of who your boss would be at all those companies. And so imagine being able to send out an email to those people like that without it getting spam blocked. So now you don't know, out of those 1,000 people that got the email, who at that moment just had someone give their 2 weeks notice that's in your job, or that the company's grown to a point where they need to add someone like you. Okay, so there's all kinds of activity going on without you being aware of it, but they know. So when the email arrives in the email box of your future boss who's in that situation, it arrives just in time. It's very timely for someone who's actually starting to think about needing to find their replacement VP of operations. It's one trick to be able to actually get the email in this way. It's another thing to be able to actually get it to the person without it getting spam blocked. So you'll get responses to those emails, and interviews come from those. But secondarily, another really neat thing about it is what is kind of a heat map. So we can see who opened it, how many times they've opened it, what links they've clicked on. So you can get this aggregate view on an Excel spreadsheet of, out of the 1,000 people, this is how many people opened it. But look at these people. Look at these 15 people. This guy, Steve, he looked at your resume 8 times over 3 days. Why? Why would someone do that, right? So it allows us a chance that if you don't hear from Steve, right, if he doesn't reply, probably is going to, or let's reach out and actually broker, get the two of you together and see if there is something there, since we were able to see what they did via clicks without them knowing that we know that. And so your timeliness in reaching out to the people that actually did a lot of clicking will continue to enhance that idea that you're just in the nick of time for what they're looking for. So this is a really amazing technology that only we have. And it's a way, again, of digging down into where those unadvertised jobs are and putting you in front of them proactively. It's kind of a swimming out to the ship instead of waiting for the ship to come in kind of approach. Let me just show you a couple of examples here. So there's a couple different ways we do a JIT. One is that we send it out to the target list. For many clients, they need to keep the anonymity for their job search. And so they don't want an email out in the open for their company to be able to know. So we send it from us. Okay, so here's an email I sent out. Here's what that looks like. Okay, and so this person responded back. Sure thing, Rhett. He's a bit overqualified for our size, but short discussion can't hurt. Same campaign, sent. We are looking for candidates of this nature for an open position we expect soon. Please send me the resume. So same one. And this person's like, this guy looks like a great catch, but probably too small and all that. But, let's talk. You never really know where that might go, and we need to have him sign an NDA. I've seen so many opportunities come when people are willing to just say, yeah, let's go ahead and put something together and have a conversation. So you'll get a variety of different kinds of responses. And love to get these where the person just right away comes back with, call me Tuesday, let's discuss, directly from the person I sent it to, who's the president of the company. So here's examples of ones where we've sent it out. So here's a response from a client. We just sent out a campaign today on the 9th right here, and he just said right here, I got my first hit asking for my resume. So this is what just-in-time marketing is all about. And it's a very exciting technology that we use. And again, one of the things that is important in terms of which different service level there that you would like to use is how many emails we'll send out as part of the campaign. So that's something we can talk about a little bit more. Just another look for you in terms of the Notice Network and our reaching out and so forth. So here's a client that there's a job that he's interested in, and it's at Gartner. So I sent an email to my past client that we helped get a job at Gartner, and I refer him to the link of the job and his link on LinkedIn, and he responds back, happy to chat with Gary, send me the resume and the requisition number, I'll recommend him in. And so they get together, and he's already had his information submitted through an internal employee. They're also looking at other jobs within Gartner. This is the value of us being able to reach out and act as an agent in ways to help you get connected to people who have the authority and the decision-making power. The process that we use to work together is kind of in 3 stages. Stage 1 is where we will begin writing the resume, get the LinkedIn updated, get the targeting ready for the just-in-time marketing and so forth. Stage 2 is basically jumping into the search itself, doing the campaigns, putting together networking meetings, answering ads, leveraging the Notice Network when we have those connections, and tag teaming this all the way until you're in your next job. Stage 3 is basically the interviewing part. Now, we might have something set up, for example, say we have an appointment on Thursday and today's Tuesday. We're going to cover something about the resume, but all of a sudden a recruiter calls you later today and wants to talk to you tomorrow. We'll just move our appointment to tomorrow morning, and I might send you some interviewing information that night. So it's a very nimble process based on what's actually happening at the street level. And all the things that we do are transparent, right? So there's an online tracking sheet with tabs. It's in the shared folder, so you can see exactly what's going on, who's been reached out to, whatever came of a certain lead that we found, blind carbon copying on emails so that you know we actually got through to someone and things like that. But that's mainly the way the program unfolds. If you just need a resume or you just need some interview prep, because that's all, right? You know where you want to go, you're getting plenty of interviews, and you just, something's not happening with the interview, you can just buy that a la carte. But most people really do need what we classify as our professional level programs. So there's 3 different programs, basically P level 1, level 2, level 3. Okay, we have a C level program that I'll talk a little bit about, but let's focus on this for just a second. Okay, the P Client 1 or above has everything that I've talked about with no limit. P level 1 gives you the resume, the LinkedIn, unlimited coaching, as much help as is needed until you're in your next position. It has about, say, up to 500 emails. It's part of the JIT campaign. And as I talked about earlier, it has the 10 direct connects that you can utilize where we're the ones reaching out. You also get access to that True EQ audit I mentioned, that's kind of the secret shopper, and the EQ Crew group ongoing emotional intelligence program. Level 2 has 1,000 emails, 20 direct connects, and all the other aspects that we talked about. The Level 3 has 2,000 emails, something that we call an Infolio marketing page. I'll talk about that in a second. An EQ University Emotional Intelligence Certification Program, 30 direct connects, and this is actually lifetime. So P level 3 individual, if you needed to look for another job in 3 years from now, and then again in 4 years from then, you wouldn't have to pay another fee. You pay the fee one time, and we're there to support your career and every move you make until you retire, basically. The P level 2 and P level 1, again, as much help and assistance is needed until you're actually in those positions. There's no 3 month and then we're done. There's never a time where you're on your own, right? Success is it. Failure's not an option. So we will help you secure that next job in the shortest amount of time. And one of the other things that I don't think I really mentioned yet is more opportunities to consider, right? That's a huge thing, is to be able to have choice and not just feel like you'll just take whatever comes along. But this process is less like a hook for a fish and more like a net, where we're able to bring many more opportunities up for consideration and to pick through them together and figure out what looks best. And so the speed of time that it takes to find the next position, the quality of the opportunities is higher because it's in the unadvertised more often, and how many opportunities you have to consider are three of the really important factors of why you would want to work with us. So let's go back down here again to the P3 ongoing services, the 30 direct connects and these other things. Let me show you a little bit about what an infolio looks like. So here's an example of a page that we created, and it's basically this individual's personal website. So imagine in the just-in-time marketing where there's a link to a page like this, okay? So you can come here and you could download the resume directly from here. Here's his contact info. Here's a link to LinkedIn. If you click here, for example, there's a page that we create. It's almost like a brochure. And so it looks, let me kind of move this. So it gives a visual to the information. People really like this. It's engaging. But we also have a video. About a minute long. Okay, so it looks like that. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and sometimes we'll actually put it right on a new URL. So for this client, that's his actual URL, and so view his resume here. Same kind of thing, slightly different look, but a different video for him. So in the world that we're in now, if you're, let's say 50 years old or above, people don't really know how technologically astute you are. And so there's a question mark there. And so anything you can do proactively to show that you're current, you get it, with it. We help kind of write, a LinkedIn post and kind of establish the subject matter expert, put it on your website, all these other things. So a lot that I haven't really gone into that are about brand management and really projecting sophistication with the technology to the point that you're comfortable with, right? We don't want to oversell that, obviously, but it's a really big thing that people kind of look for, little clues, and creating an infolio page like this can be huge. I have so many different stories and examples of how someone mentioned that was a thing that really made them interested and wanted to reach out to the person. Okay, so that's what an infolio page looks like, along with all the other aspects I mentioned. You might say, which one would be best for you? And the way I would normally steer a client is to say, okay, look, how small is your geography, right? If you're only looking in Portland, Oregon, then you might not need as many emails to go out, because the number of people that we would send a just-in-time campaign to might be 500 or 750 people. Just depends on how many different industries we'll target and how wide your geography is. If you can put a ton of time and work into reaching out, 10 direct connects might be just fine for you, right? This could be a perfect program because you're willing to do a lot more of the sweat equity, so to speak. But if you're someone that works and has very little time to put into the job search, looking at the P3, for example, where you get 30 direct connects that you can give to us to take, that might be the better way for you to go. P level 1 and above is really where it's at. If you need more than just a little bit of help, say on the resume, that kind of thing, where you look at a C-level program, unlimited emails. Okay, so let's say you're an individual who's like, I'll look anywhere. Okay, well, imagine sending out 10,000 emails instead of 500. For every number, right, every 1,000 emails, let's say, that gets sent out, you're going to get a certain number of interviews from that. So depending on how far and wide you'd like to cast the net, that might be something you want to look at. Unlimited direct connects. So C-level client is the P-level 3 client, but on steroids, basically. So that's a critical component there. So as you consider all of this information prior to our conversation, I hope this makes a lot of sense. I hope this helps you get the lay of the land and brings to life a lot of the content that's on here. I know it's a lot, but hopefully this was helpful in really helping you understand who we are, what we do, what makes us unique, and sets us up nicely for our first conversation that's coming up. I look forward to it. Thank you very much.